whatever works. So you're in Jersey, right?
Yeah, yeah. Where are you?
Nice, Miami.
Miami. Okay. What's it like down there?
Well, right now it's crazy, right? With the, I guess with the Corona thing.
Yeah.
I guess we were one of the first states that kind of opened.
Yeah.
And it's backfiring on us, I think.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going to be all right there for a sec. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's a big mystery because we got walloped early on, and now I guess it's going pretty well. But, you know, who knows? Like in a month, it could change. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like every week something's different's happening, right? It's like
it's bizarre. I've stopped trying to follow it or anything because I'm just accepting the fact that it's just going to be like this for a while. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did just read that the first event of 2021 was canceled, which was a little bit disheartening to hear. It was the Rose Bowl parade, I guess, in LA. So it's like, okay, now we're reading about 2021. That sucks, you know.
That totally sucks. And, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe they were optimistic, but they could have been, I don't know. I know that they're allowing, like in Korea, and obviously it's a different place, but I know that I saw something about they had fans in at the baseball game. Which was nice to see, you know, for those people, you know. Right.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But you're smart about not reading the news, man. It's almost like
I did in the beginning, but I just bailed early on because it's just not constructive.
Exactly. You got to control your mind, you know, in this situation.
Yeah.
Cool,
totally.
man. Cool, dude. Nice. Well, I've been listening to your new album for the past couple of days. Great stuff, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So you've been working on it for quite a bit, right?
Yeah. We've gone through some lineup change. You know, Pat, our old drummer, who's on half of the tracks on the record, him and his family moved to San Diego in the middle of recording it. So basically the story is, you know, we had most of the songs done and we had to find a replacement drummer. And rather than just hire someone to finish it up, we wanted to get a guy who, you know, was going to be a part of the band. So that process took another couple of years. Really, we found Austin quick, but the way we're kind of crazy about rehearsal and getting tight as a band, especially before we went in and recorded the second half of the record.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of took so long, you know? I've been telling people, look, it's probably taking us just as long as every other record, about 2.5 weeks of actual recording, but just life and everything else has come in the middle of it. But it's here now. You know, it's strange to say, but it's finished. You know. So
No, I do want to talk to you guys about it. But before we get to that, let me ask you before Jeff arrives, let me ask you a little bit about your influences, right? Because I know your dad was a huge rock guy, but in your records, man, like it sounds so refreshing to hear some like just rock and roll. Like just tell me about like some of the records that you heard. Like, were you like a big Tom Petty guy, maybe a Bruce Springsteen kind of guy?
I mean, Tom Petty, yes. Of course, Springsteen. It's funny. Since I am from Jersey, I sort of rejected it early on. You know, I kind of came to it a little bit later. But yeah, he's definitely. I mean, I've seen him a couple times. We've you know, the band. We've met him a couple times. Him and his wife. And they're really nice people. And so that kind of made it a little bit easier to get into his stuff because we kind of, you know, I don't know, you know, we met him a couple times and hung out. But yeah, I mean, all the usuals, you know, you have, you know, Elvis Costello early on. And the Kinks, my father was a big fan of them. And just growing up, and then all the alternative music that happened when I was younger. The you know, Dinosaur Jr. and you know, of course, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all that washed over, I think, all of us. And that's just the time that we grew up in. But yeah, I would say pretty standard the music. I mean, my favorite band is Led Zeppelin, like no questions asked. So it's pretty basic, really. But yeah, all those other bands are in there, and of course, you sprinkle in the Clash and all these other bands that you kind of. The cool thing about music is that, you know, there's so much to dive into, and you know, people turn you on to different stuff at different times. So I'm still getting into things, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
But it's amazing. Like you talk of Led Zeppelin. The other day I was just channel surfing and I came across that reunion show they had in London, like 8-9 years ago. Man, they still got it. Can you imagine if those people reunited? Like, unbelievable.
Well, yeah, I think that just that being the singer there, I think Plant, it must be murder for him to try to sing in that high register. So I think that, you know, and I respect the fact that he just wants to kind of move on, you know, but yeah, What a band. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit about your dad, Dylan, if you don't mind. Like, okay, so he was a big rock guy, but was he in the rock industry, or like was he just big rock fan?
No, he's just a guy who kind of grew up in the time of, all the music, Hendrix. And I mean, he gave me Axis Boldest Love when I was like 11 years old. And, I always had Stones records. I remember listening to Some Girls. I think when I was a little kid, I had a little turntable. And I had Some Girls. I had Another Side of Bob Dylan. I had all these sort of oddity, not odd. I mean, odd for a kid, I guess. And those are the records that I just kind of had laying around. He plays. I mean, he's better at. He's more of a good. And Jeff can attest to this. He's more the guy at a party that grabs a ukulele. He's a handsome fellow that can play you any kind of song at a party, and all the ladies melt. I mean, he's one of those guys. But no, he's not in the industry or nothing. He worked in textiles, but and then he got into opera later on. I think when I was probably around 12 years old, he just dove into opera, and then he had actually season tickets to the Metropolitan Opera. And we used to rib him all the time because we were like kids into rock and Def Leppard and all this stuff. And the next thing you know, my father's blasting Turandot throughout the house. So that was sort of a big piece of my high school years, is my friends coming over and going, "What the hell's with your father? He's laying there listening to this opera," because they fancied him to be like a cool guy, But he just he went way deep. But he's back on the rock. He recently was telling me he got back into a lot of bands. He's a big fan of Ryan Adams. And Ryan Adams got him back into rock and roll a little bit. So yeah, he's been listening to a lot of stuff, but he's just always a musical guy. You know what I mean? Didn't do it for a living. But music was always around in my house for sure.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you brought Ryan Adams. I know he's been through some stuff. I don't want to get too deep into it, but
we don't have to touch that. Yeah.
No. But let me just ask you like a general question. Do you think that like personal decisions should negate art in general?
No, but that's again, without going too far into it. If we're gonna do that, there's a
no. Whatever you feel comfortable.
There's a bunch of things we could say about Led Zeppelin that right now would negate their art, or David Bowie. And I think that I don't know. It's a tough one, because I certainly don't not enjoy somebody's art because of their personal life.
Right.
But that's me, and I do respect people who just can't stomach it. That's also their decision. Hey, look, nobody has to listen to Ryan Adams. If you feel that it's so that's where I'm at with that.
Interesting. Yeah. Perfectly there. No, interesting. Tell me about so your dad indoctrinated you. You were like the cool kid in school. You had this band at 12 years old.
I wouldn't say I was the cool kid in school.
I don't know, man. Having a band at 12 playing rock and roll, that's pretty dope.
Well, yeah. I think I just I got lucky. My good friends, Dave and Scott, who we were, went to elementary school together. We just started, my friend Scott just went out one day and impulsively had his dad get him a drum kit. And then he said, "Look, I got a drum kit. It's up to you now. You get it. You have a guitar, your dad's guitar. My dad had a little acoustic, a old Guild acoustic. But he, did I lose the, okay. He said, we got, it's up to you. So I wound up getting an electric, for like 8th grade graduation. And, then we convinced our buddy Dave to get a bass. So, that was it. And then we just sort of tortured our parents, my parents and Scott's parents for the next, I don't know, 5 years, before we went to college.
That's 35 years, really.
Yeah, really. For sure. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, that's you, Jeff Nordstedt, the guitar player, just joined us, I suppose.
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Hey, how did you guess? What tipped you off?
Well, we've been chatting here. We started a little early, so just introducing you to my audience. How you doing, Jeff?
Hello.
Yeah, no, just getting a little bit into the background of Dylan and his dad, how he was like the cool guy, just introducing him to Zeppelin. Well, most of us were playing with, action figures and stuff like that.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, was being introduced to like, I don't know, Hank Williams. And there was a lot of country music in my house. I also had a guitar around the house since a very young age, but my dad did not dig it wasn't cool music there. I sort of stole his guitar and did other things with it.
Interesting. So Jeff, actually, okay, so I'm glad you're here. Let me go back to the beginning of the year. I'm curious about, it's been a big year for you guys. You guys are releasing your first album in quite a minute. But tell me about 2020, from the Milwaukees perspective. Like, how has the year been for you guys, Jeff? Like, starting in January with the expectations that you guys had, and then, March and onwards. Did I lose you guys?
I'm here. You here?
Yeah, I'm here. I can see. Yeah, I can see you, Dylan.
Okay. Jeff, did we lose Jeff? Maybe. All right. Well. Okay.
Do you want to answer that,
yeah.
Dylan?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we were all ready to go. We were planning it out and seeing what step was next, and then, like everybody else, I mean, this whole thing kind of went down, and, as they say, it kind of is what it is. I mean, in the position that we're in, it's okay. I mean, we will get back out there one day and play.
Yeah.
As long as we all stay healthy and everything's okay. And I think it'll be okay. It's a disappointment like anything else, but I mean, God, there's so many stories that you hear now of people going through so much. So
right.
It kind of feels silly to, I feel very privileged actually to still be in a rock band and making music and still doing it. So yeah, we will get back on, but yeah, we're doing the presser thing and talking to people about the record and just sort of, getting the word out there that we're back out. It's been a while since we put something out. So
sure.
We're excited, yeah.
What was that period of Dylan, like, late February, March 6th, 7th, those like first 10 days when everyone realized what really was happening?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
I was just going about normal stuff. I was going about just normal life. In fact, very close to when it shut down. I mean, remember they were shutting down my kid's school. I think it was March 13th, that Friday. And like a lot of people, I was just kind of confused. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I mean, you were hearing stuff about Italy, but and then I guess my cousin's brother is in the military. He was over in Korea. He was talking to us, and yeah, so everybody I think was prepared for about a month or two of the shutdown, and then now we're in.
They knew it before we did, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we're in July, and there's no end in sight. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? So
yeah,
yeah.
Just got to keep chugging through it, Dylan.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. One day at a time. You have a great quote, Dylan. You once said, I don't do autobiographical songs, right? I don't do songs about me per se. I like to hang in the character. And we were just talking about people like Petty, Springsteen. They do this all the time. But, since you're such a great songwriter and you do that, I've always wanted to know, and my audience, how do you get into these deep spaces and like come out okay? Angel with a Knife from the Stick Up or many examples, Darkness on the Edge of Town from Bruce. Like, how do you effectively do that?
I've heard a couple of guys who write songs, a couple of girls who write songs talk about this. It's really the zone that I go into is sort of a zone of not really thinking. I sort of wait around for, some people call it the muse, whatever, to kind of arrive. And then I kind of just need some alone time. Which is difficult in life sometimes to find for me at this moment in my life, but find some alone time and just kind of work it out and just sort of like not think, I think Bob Dylan's thing that he said was about not thinking is the key to it. And I really kind of agree with that. I mean, besides the homework that comes sometimes with, filling in the blanks with the lyrics, that's more of a thinking thing. But the initial thing for me is just, a couple of chords, melody comes out, and then a couple of words will start coming out, and then it just kind of always flows. And I've luckily always had that ability since I was like 13. I've just gone through different phases of things, and I never really thought much about lyric writing or songs until they're done, and then they're done. And then my favorite thing, and I often say this, I like when people tell me what they think it's about, because many times they're right. And it occurs to me maybe what the song is about. So that's the place I like to write in. And that's not every song, but that's the best ones.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's a good quote there. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So when you guys started, late 80s, early 90s, obviously you mentioned Pearl Jam, you mentioned, all this like grunge was starting. It was, to some people, the best period in rock history, to some.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, a lot has been said about rock is dead, right? So I feel like, when I talk to guests or whatever, I feel like whenever we talk about this, there's three schools of thought. One, there's people who think rock is going to come back because it's cyclical. And there's a hunger, and there's always been like a cycle, and it'll come back. Two, something that our friend of the show, Mark Goodman, the first VJ from MTV, he said he says that a lot of the country that's coming up now is what rock was, and he mentions people like Jason Isbell or who else am I missing?
The new Margot Price record is great. I've been listening to that for the past few days.
Like it's got a lot of the same elements. Butch Walker, champion, right? Exactly. So some people think that, and then there's the Debbie Downers, or some people who say no, rock is dead. Rock is dead. It's moved on. Where do you fall? I don't think
it's dead. I just think it's just not as commercially big, as it once was. But then it's funny. I think when you look at if you do commercial, nobody sells records anymore, right? So we know that nobody sells millions of records anymore. And I think that when you look at the Billboard charts, even when rock was really, really big in the early 90s, or really big that you think in the 80s, when you look at the top 40, it's all pop music.
Yeah.
So the pop music has always been there. But I think right now in the phase of where it's at, I think maybe the rap music is more of selling more at this moment, but it's also it's also a newer genre. I mean, but I like you, I could reference the band White Reaper. I've recently gone into them. So there's just a ton of, I think, rock bands that are really, really good. They just maybe don't make the money that they used to, or maybe have the fame that they used to have. But I always think as long as there's some instruments, there'll be kids. I mean, my son is 8, and him and his two buddies bang around on stuff all the time because they're just interested in it, because I think it's just something that for some people they're drawn to it, and I don't think that's ever going to go away, So yeah, I mean, I love Jason Isbell, all those guys, Sturgill Simpson, and all those, country rock guys. But I also like, a lot of rock bands that are still doing it, like White Reaper and stuff like that. So there's just a ton of bands out there that are just putting out really good stuff. It's just not as popular, as it used to be. But maybe, hey, man, maybe the wave will come back. Who knows?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let me ask you about a fun story. Is it true that you guys were banned from Canada at one point in your career? Like from touring in Canada? Or is that like...
Sort of. I was jailed in Canada for lying.
There he is.
Yeah. I'm here.
I was
jailed in Canada. How long you been here, Jeff?
I heard the whole "is rock dead" conversation.
Okay, perfect. So Jeff is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He had a little tech audio.
So I got thrown in jail, and they told around the border around North Dakota, and they told me that I was banned from Canada. And we wound up getting a lawyer years later because we maybe wanted to tour again. We just figured, and we were actually playing really good shows up in Canada. We love it up there. In many ways, our Canadian shows were better than the American ones, and we wanted to tour up there again. I think maybe Jeff had contacted a lawyer or something, and the lawyer basically said that's all bullshit. So the story is, so we could do a whole other podcast about just that story and how bizarre it was.
Really,
of me getting jailed and then paying a judge in the middle of a mobile gas station. So I don't know if we just got taken for a couple $100 by some Mounties, but it's certainly possible.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. Great. I want to get to the new album in just a second, but I want to ask Jeff really quickly. We just have to touch on it. Like maybe some people in my audience don't know that one of your original members unfortunately did pass away. I just want to ask Jeff how he looks back at Dave Post. You once called him the band's spiritual animal. How do you remember him today? And just give us a minute on him.
Did we lose Jeff again?
I think so. Oh, interesting.
Well,
I'm sorry, Dave. I tried to get you out of this one.
Dave was the original member of the band. He's the guy who I started the band with. great guy. He was a troubled guy, you know. He a really good spirit. One of my best friends growing up, and really good friends my whole life. So it was really tough to lose him. And you know, those things, you know, I'll always, no matter how troubled he was toward the end, I'll always miss that dude. We had a lot of laughs together. We created a band together, him along with Scott. There'll always be something about those guys in particular where, you know, I get choked up thinking about both of them, even though Scott's very much alive and doing well, because we did it together, you know, as young kids. And and Scott still had jammed with us in the middle of us getting a new drummer and everything. Scott was still around during the sessions and stuff like that. So he's still in and around the band. Yeah, we miss Dave. I mean, he could be a pain in the neck, and I'm not going to deny that, but that dude was a real funny guy, a great bass player, and a really good friend.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Rest in peace. Jeff, are you here? No.
He just said, he texted me, he said he's bailing. He's out.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, send him our regards. I'm sorry that tech failed us today.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the new album, Dylan. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. It's your first album since 2011, like you said. So you just said that the past 9 years stuff has come up, real life stuff, but you've replenished your energies. Creatively, though, these past 9 years, how have you grown as an artist?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. You know, I'm trying to figure out what it means to be a guy who's you know, in his 40s that has a family and you know, still playing rock. And it's still, like everybody else says, it still feels the same to me, but you know, we don't tour as much now, and just trying to figure that all out, you know. Sometimes it can be confusing, but look, I think that part of the thing about the title, The Calling, is that just coming to grips with the fact of, you know, regardless of whether or not we make, you know, we ever made any money or, you know, sell millions of records. This is something that we're called to do. And as I'm still called to write songs, I'm going to continue, you know, as long as somebody will, you know, let me, I will record them and put them out into the world. And that's the place that I kind of got, you know, have gotten to. And listen, between now and the songs that are on this record and the songs from 9 years ago, I got plenty of songs laying around that I may still do something with sometime on my own that kind of sound a little bit different than the band. And, you know, who knows, but I always have a bunch of songs laying around. It's just a matter of what songs fit with the kind of vibe I wanted. I specifically wanted to go with a certain kind of vibe for this record. And that's what that kind of, you know, that's what wound up happening. Sure.
Well, it came out great. No Way Out, your first single, Dylan. Very timely message, isn't it? Right, especially with Corona. I guess you know. I guess for people, and this single is out now, so my audience can stream it now wherever you stream. The message is that it's up to us, the people, to escape kind of like darkness that we're trapped within, like it's within ourselves, right? Tell us a little bit about this song, Dylan.
Well, I think I was texting with it's funny. I was texting with my father. He said, you know, give me that. He said, I can't understand your lyrics. Send me the lyrics. He's a big lyric guy. And I texted him the lyrics, and he said, this is great. And I said, yeah, it's sort of like a Born to Run kind of a song. You know what I mean? And, you know, lyric wise. And he said, yeah. He goes, I'm digging it. Cool. So yeah, that sort of was the thing about No Way Out. Well, you know, I kind of was deciding, well, okay, I had the line, I had probably that first pre-chorus line just kind of came out. But as far as the two verses, I had to sort of construct those and figure out what I wanted to say in those two verses. And it's basically about just following, you know, again, following a calling of some sort. And that may mean getting out of where you are, or that may mean escaping from where you are. That may be just within your own head. But there's definitely relief out there for people if you want it, if you make it happen. But nobody's going to make it happen for you. And that's sort of the thing, you know.
Yeah. And you came out with this song with the first lick on piano, right? Is that like a new thing?
Yeah, I got an upright when we moved into our house 7 years ago. We moved out of our apartment and we moved into a house, and I got an upright, and I just started noodling around on it. My wife got me 4 piano lessons for one of my birthdays, and I'm not a lessons guy, so I went into the guy and I said, "Look, I'm not here to learn theory," and he said, "Listen, I'm just going to do 4 lessons of sort of theory to teach you how to construct chords. And so he taught me the way that piano works, which is fascinating to me. I never knew the way it worked. And so from there, I'm able to play sort of any chord. And I'm really a crap piano player, but I'm good enough to write songs on the piano, which is all I am on the guitar either. I mean, I'm kind of a crap guitar player, but I just use it to write songs on, you know.
Can you imagine if you're a piano guy and like they tell you to go to this prepaid, house, and who's your client, very, very, very important, very talented, already recording artist. That's gotta be petrifying. Sorry, it just.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, cool. I don't think he thought of it that way, but whatever. Yeah, I'm glad that I went, and learned a little bit, because it's been a good outlet for me to learn how to write song. Not learn, but to spark melody ideas. The piano. It's great for me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, that's awesome, Dylan. You've been so generous with your time. One more question about my favorite track, I think. There's a few, but I think Stay Gold is my standout. Yeah. What a gem, man. What a gem of a track. Just tell us about the composition of that track, where the lyrics came about, because that is a very special song.
Yes. That was one of the early ones. I had that chorus. I had the Stay Gold, Stay Gold chorus. I had it for a long time. Could not figure out how I was going to, again, support that chorus. What did that mean? That happened to me a couple of times in this record. Yeah. And it was really a song about, in the end, again, just accepting just sort of these moments that we have in life, and not taking it for granted, and not, there's a song by Rush called Time Stands Still. And I sort of leaned on that song a little bit as far as like a theme about, life in general, and really appreciating moments as much as you can, because, maybe because of Dave, maybe because of other things and in my life, that things that have happened, I wanted to put out a message of just, really hang on to, try to stay young, try to stay, don't take life too seriously if you can help it, and try to have a good time, because, we all kind of are young once, and then we go older, and it's how you navigate that. Sometimes that could be the difference between you having a happy life or maybe falling into despair. I've seen a bunch of friends and family do, and it's tough, and it's a struggle, and I think everybody has different struggles. I'm one of the lucky ones. I think, like you said about music, I've always had that as an outlet, and I'm real appreciative to do that. It's almost like free therapy. But I'm happy that you like the song. I anytime anybody tells me something like that, it's great, because when you're writing these songs in your room, or wherever you write your songs, you just never know if anybody's going to hear them or like them. And so to hear all this stuff is really great. And it's gratifying. It's the reason that we do it. And I'm sure everybody else does it, I hope. It's certainly the reason I do it. So I really appreciate you kind of, listening to the record, taking the time and listening to some tracks. And I hope it continues to grow. And, as I listen to records, sometimes I need to listen 5 times before it all kind of comes together.
Those are the best records, right?
Yeah. So I'm proud of the record that we did. I'm proud of the stuff that we did. And whenever we're allowed to get back out there and play, we certainly will, because we're a live band, we're a rock band, and that's what we like to do.
Amazing. Dylan.
Yeah.
That's a great place to leave it. Super inspiring. I want to thank you so much. The Milwaukees, the new album, The Calling, out August 21st. Thank you so much for your time, Dylan.
Thank you, my man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Take care. All right.